Welcome to the Black Girls Heal podcast, where we talk about changing unavailable relationship patterns, healing unresolved trauma, and building a healthy relationship with first you and then others. Every episode, we will talk about actionable advice that you can apply today to break unhealthy patterns and grow your self-worth. I'm Sheena Tubbs. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Black Girls Heal. We are in the middle, hopefully in the middle, because that means that we are halfway through, but we are in the middle of our coronavirus pandemic and seeing how it has affected everybody in every single place in some way, even if it's just a disruption of your news story in case you're in a smaller town in USA, or whether or not you're in a major city and you've watched grocery stores and restaurants and just your news cycle be severely affected. It's touched everyone in their own way. So that can cause a lot of anxiety. That can cause a lot of tension. And so this episode was actually supposed to just be a bonus episode. And for the women who are a part of our bonus club. So if you haven't heard before, I have a mini membership for women who really love the Black Girls Heal podcast. You love the way that I teach here on the podcast, talking straightforward, that you feel like the advice and support is helpful to you, and you just want more episodes. You don't just want one episode a week. So what I'm going to share with you today was going to be a bonus episode, but I was thinking, you know what, this needs to be helpful for or open to everybody, not just our bonus club members. So with that said, today's episode, actually I should probably tell, some of you are probably like, what bonus club? I didn't know there was a bonus club. Yeah, we have a bonus club. You can find out about it by going to blackgirlsheal.org/bonus club. And I release extra episodes for women who are a part of it. And it's not only the episodes, you get discounts to some of my programs and some of my events that I have. I have one-on-one VIP days, which would be really good for some of you right now, where we knock out creating a whole relationship program, plan for your negative core beliefs, rebuilding your friendships, and I teach you everything that I teach in my main program in a day, and we just go through your whole life and clear it out and all that, so you get you're eligible for discounts to that, discounts to our main group coaching program that we do what we do in that one day, and we do it fleshed out, of course, with more information and more time, because it's over 6 months versus one day or a weekend, depending on what you choose, but you get access to that. You get access to special raffles of free coaching calls, and it's just a whole thing. So you can find out more about the bonus club by going to blackgirlsheal.org/bonus club. It's only $15 a month, which I think is a really good deal. And I actually am releasing new episodes this week on that the ways that we've always done things in our family, we don't have to keep doing things like that ourselves. We don't have to pass that on. So I'm going to be talking with you about what that means for us. Some of us have been perpetrated when we look at sexual abuse. Some of us have been abused by women. And what does that mean for us? What might that have looked like? What does that mean to put words to that when that is something that is not often talked about and recognized? And so I will be releasing an episode about that, and probably some other stuff as well, especially since this is where a lot of us are having a lot of downtime, or we're having the need to pay attention to more positive things versus what's going on around us, right? So that's you. You can cancel anytime. But yeah, go to blackgirlsheal.org/bonus club, and that link is also in my show notes. So Also, something that's in my show notes that has really been bringing me a lot of joy. Every time I say the word coronavirus or hear the word coronavirus, I think of Cardi B's remix that talks about that's about coronavirus. So, in case you are not a social media person, it's been everywhere, which is why it's in my head. But Cardi B did an Instagram live or something where she said, "Coronavirus, shit is getting real," and somebody remixed it and turned it to a song. And it's as amazing as the remixes always are when people remix viral moments. So if you have not heard that song, take 60 seconds of your day. Go to that link in my show notes. Just click on it. It's a YouTube video. So even if you're not on social media, you'll be able to watch it. If you're like, Cardi B's not my thing, that can't be funny to me, all right, that's fine, whatever. But this is a little bit of joy to add to you. So, with all that, today's episode was supposed to be a bonus episode. And everybody needs to hear this. So, years and years ago, I was on this amazing trip in Europe. I have never been afraid of solo travel. But this trip was not just a solo trip. There were different parts that I was taking on my own, and then there were parts that I was meeting up with friends that lived abroad that were also traveling abroad. So I went to multiple countries. If you've never been to Europe, Europe is amazing because they literally party all night long. And so I danced as I danced like past when the sun came up. Met amazing people from around the world that were new. I met amazing people who were already my friends that I got to know. I got to see some of the most beautiful places. I stayed in these gorgeous Airbnbs, and just life was great. The environment was beautiful. The weather was wonderful, and still, with all of that fun, especially on the days that I was traveling solo. And again, I personally have always loved solo travel because you get to do what you want to do. The world at large, in my experience, has always been very safe. I felt safer in many countries outside of the U.S. than I've felt in the actual United States, which is an interesting dynamic to have. But it is what it is. And so, but whenever I got back home, my home of the day, if I wasn't careful and if I had a little bit too much silence, that ache, that pain that was underneath would come up. And for me, what I had already always identified that pain, that ache to be was that, man, I wish I was dating someone, or man, I wish that I had someone to connect to and talk to. And at that moment, during my Europe trip, in the midst of this amazing fun and abundance and privilege, I was like, I really want to be connected to someone. So I pulled out my WhatsApp and I reached out to a toxic ex, an ex that was unavailable to me at the time that we were dating. But I was like, let me just text him and just see what he's doing. I'm bored, is what I told myself. And of course, like all people who are not good for you, he was very much available at that time. And just to cut the story short, it reignited a relationship between us that was a roller coaster, and we ended up splitting. But at that time, in the middle of all of that stuff, when I was bored and when I was alone with my thoughts and when I was alone with myself, it was hard for me. And I needed something outside of me to help me feel better. And my thing was relationships. And for women, I've talked about this before, we typically have a trifecta of things that when we are spending too much time with ourselves, if we are not at a healthier place where we don't have healthier coping mechanisms, and some of us have really great coping mechanisms, but is that we have unresolved negative core beliefs about ourselves, that the silence can be deafening, because our healthy coping mechanisms are really effective distractions. And so all this is related to what was going on right now, because at that time I had no distractions. When I had no distractions, that's when I was in danger of going back to my unhealthy stuff. And my unhealthy stuff, what I was about to say about the trifecta, is it's not just relationships that some of us will numb out with. Some of us may numb out with bottles of rosé that feel very healthy and healing to us, or bottles of wine. We notice that we may hit it a little bit more. We may notice that binge eating is more effective to us. We may notice that we have a really good connection to our online shopping practices during that time. We may find that we need to go shopping in real life during that time. We may find that we need to get out and travel more. And so all these cheap tickets are really great. And at the same time, we can't really fly. So we're feeling another way. We need something else to distract ourselves. And here's the thing, y'all. Over the next few weeks, you're just going to have yourself. And you are going, with you just having yourself, we're going to run through all of the things that we have always gone through. We're going to run through all the tools that have either distracted us or kept us numb. And you're only going to have yourself at the end of the day. And how you truly feel about yourself is going to get revealed. I'm having a little bit of anxiety just kind of thinking about that kind of pain that can come up when we're not in touch with it. And then that's just the us part. Let's say some of us are living with other people, whether it's a roommate or whether it is a partner or whether it's kids. We are going to show up in that too, because our stress levels, the pressure we put on other people, and also if there is conflict between the other people in our home, it's about to come up, right? If it hasn't already. Some of you on day one, and your day one was over the weekend, things got really hard and heavy. So I say all this because I want to normalize what is potentially going to happen, what may currently be happening, so that you do not feel like you are losing your mind or as if there is something wrong with you. It could just be that some things are coming up that you need to deal with. So maybe you're not really in touch with that right now, but you looking at the title of this episode that talks about finding your Corona Bay, you may be intrigued. So this is how I've seen it show up in some of my ladies who are in process of getting to the other side of this. There has been an uptick of online dating personality profiles, right? Now everybody is feverishly swiping, trying to find somebody because of this heightened anxiety. And maybe you never realized that that's what this was. Maybe you're fully aware and you can't stop. Maybe you just think, well, maybe now's the time for me to find somebody because everybody is down. Everyone is just looking for a partner because they have available opportunity. And everybody else is just looking for someone to cope with or someone to talk to. I just need a friend, like all this stuff. And girl, let me just cut through that fantasy right now in case that's you. First of all, now is not the time to find somebody who is just looking for someone to talk to, because one, you are already, before you even start, settling for something that you do not want. You are not on dating apps just because you want to find a good friend. You're on a dating app because you're looking for a life partner. Yes? Yes. Okay. So with that said, you are not looking for anyone to waste your time, right? Our motto for 2020 is don't waste my time, 2020. Okay? We're not doing this anymore. That's old stuff, right? We've gone through grade school. We've gone through maybe some of us, our version of higher education or our growing phase. We can find our own friends on our own. We are not looking for someone to be our friend. Okay? We're looking for someone to be our friend plus our partner. Okay? So don't go into this swiping saying, well, I just want to get to know someone and acting as if you don't have any expectations. There's a difference between I'm the type of person who likes to take it slow, and I'm the type of person who kind of needs to get to know someone and build trust. And you saying, well, I just want somebody to talk to. Just like I wasn't bored, just bored over there in Europe, that I was looking for something more and I was lying to myself about it. Don't be getting into this lying to yourself. Okay. Second of all, right now, most of the world, most of the country is quarantined. If you're not quarantined, especially if you're in a larger city, things are shutting down so where you can't really even go out on dates anyways, right? People, there are some cities that are actually saying that you cannot travel again. Definitely problems of major cities. I'm not sure what that's looking like for smaller towns, and I'm not knowledgeable what's happening in other countries. So fit in whatever your circumstances. But right now, you don't have the opportunity to go out and meet somebody and get to know them and get to know them outside of text and social media, which in itself is a false way of getting to know somebody. Okay, I tell my women all the time, if you're texting someone all day, that is an issue, because what happens when they go ghost? What happens when you still don't even know, like, if they can have a conversation, if you can connect to them, if you actually have real chemistry because you're doing all this stuff via text. Okay? Third, you do not want to start a relationship out of desperation and anxiety. Okay? That is not the energy that you want to find your prince or princess charming. I mean, at least I hope that it's not. I hope that you want your relationship to start from a place of abundance, of peace, and of growth, because it can only go up from there, right? If I start from a place of anxiety where I'm like, I need you to fix me and distract me and talk to me and keep me company, and let's talk about all of our deepest, darkest fears and secrets and talk to each other all day long because I can't go to work for 2 weeks. If that is not the energy that we want to start finding our love in 2020. And if you hadn't put it into words like that, that is exactly where you're starting at. Okay? And fourth, this is what I've just noticed from the women who are talking to me about doing this frantic swiping, is there's not even anyone on the apps that you actually like, right? Instead of you just having a couple hours that you might be doing this thing, now many people, not everybody, some people thankfully are still able to work. And by the way, if that is you, who's still able to work, I know there's a lot of joking about, everybody got to cancel in work, but not me, or everything's getting canceled but work. Y'all, there are some of us, especially some of you listening, who might be really hurting or might be really nervous about where your next paycheck's going to come from, or where their next paycheck's going to come from, because so many things have been shut down, because they're hourly workers, because whatever else. And so I really encourage you that as we are sharing different memes and stuff, I haven't seen this over the last week or so since things have really been getting real, but that we're not sharing those kind of jokes, because if it's not you, you most likely have a lot of people on your timeline who are really going to be affected by what's going on. And I would love for you to maybe reach out to help people versus making fun of the fact that you are still gainfully employed when someone else may not be. But going back to the topic, people are running through these profiles and they're like, there's nobody even on here that I want to talk to. And the people I do want to talk to, I reach out and either they don't reply, or I realize when they do reply that I was only on this thing because I was bored. And so for the ladies who need it, I want you to understand that Match.com and Plenty of Fish and I don't know, J-Swipe. I know a lot of ladies who are on J-Swipe, or eHarmony or Bumble or whatever your thing is. None of those things are going to produce for you what you're actually looking for, right? Even if you were to meet the right person right now, which I put money on that you probably won't, even if you were, that is not what's going to ultimately fulfill you, okay? And the romantic that's still inside of me kind of like was like, oh man, even when I said it out loud, like, really, are you sure? Because I think it'd be a really great story for, like, we had downtime and we were on the apps, and this just happened. And I'm telling you, you have a lot of other people who are trying to distract themselves right now, and that is not the energy that you want to go into this with, right? If you are full and if you are balanced and if you feel like you can get on this app with a measured sense of self, and and not be attached to whether or not someone responds to you or not, to not spend hours and hours looking at profiles. Once you run through all the people that you could be potentially matched with, go through people who are not matches just to see, start a new profile on a new dating application to fill your downtime. If that's not what you're doing, but it's just one thing that you're doing in addition to watching a movie or reading a book or taking a walk or engaging with other people, then go forth. This message is not for you. But what I've seen, the reason that I was prompted to make this episode is there's a lot of people who are either texting people and reconnecting to old bays that should not be reconnected to. They are frantically swiping, and or their ways of coping and distracting from themselves in unhealthy ways is kicking up during this time. And I want to encourage you to not self-medicate and run from whatever feeling is underneath. So I'm actually doing, this is why I tell y'all to follow me on social media. I'm actually doing a 14 days to saving yourself Instagram, Facebook Live extravaganza. So every day for 14 days, I'm going live with a different topic related to saving yourself in relationships. And it's completely free before anybody is like, oh, how much does that cost? It's free. It's live video streams on Instagram and Facebook. So you can still watch the replays on Facebook, on Instagram. They expire after 24 hours. And so the episode today that I recorded, today is Monday, the day before this episode goes out. But the one that I recorded today was all about how to not go back to these places emotionally, physically, whatever, when we are bored, stressed, and sad and lonely. And here's what I told everyone, and I'm going to tell this to you too. You need to go into a straight detox. You need to go into a straight no contact with all of the people and all of the things that you have used in an unhealthy way to self-medicate. So many of us, we try to toe the line and we try to say, okay, well, I'm going to not talk to them, but I'm still going to let them have access to see my stories. And then I check to see who watched my stories, and I see that they watched my stories, and that's a whole little form of communication, right? Then we have people who relationships is not your thing, but actually the way that you self-medicate is isolation. And so you're on the other extreme where some people are like, I need to find somebody to connect with. You're like, this is easier for me to numb out and avoid. And what you need to do during this time, because your isolation is a really unhealthy way that you try to hide from your problems, go dark, go inward, is you need to have on your self-medication list all the ways that I act out and self-medicate. Isolation is one of them. So I need to make sure that for the next 14, 30 days, however long this quarantine is, that I do not isolate, right? Isolation is your drug. Some people's drugs is fantasy and dating. Some people's drug, quote unquote, is overworking and needing to be busy. And some people's drug is the bottle. And your drug is staying away from folks. That's what makes you feel safe. So for the next few weeks, you need to be reaching out to people. You need to be connecting to people. You need to be showing up and being available, right? You need to initiate contact with people instead of you feeling salty that no one's calling you and no one's texting you and you're watching all these other people talk and no one's thought to reach out to you. You got a phone too, boo. You got a phone, you got hands, you got a working voice, hopefully. And if you don't have a working voice, there's all these other ways to communicate in the world. But I go more into detail in that video that you can freely watch yourself. If you're not already following our Facebook page, you can go to blackgirlsheal.org/Facebook. And of course, this link is in the show notes as always. But yeah, so making a list of all the things that you use to numb out so that you are aware, that you're aware if things are getting out of hand. You can see it right in front of you. Okay, maybe there's a feeling that I am not wanting to feel right now. And all this silence and all of this time down with myself is coming out. So once you're clear on that, once you've watched those videos, once you have gotten clear on how you're self-medicating, you know that you are not feeling some things you need to feel, well, now it's time to put that into work, right? Put yourself into gear, because we do not know how long this is going to be going on. We don't even know what the ripple effect of all this will be. But we do know that you have the opportunity to choose what to focus on, right? And instead of us focusing on what could be or what could happen, the one thing you can control is you. You can control how you feel about yourself. You can control how you think about yourself. You can control what is actually in your toolbox for what's your go-to ways to manage your emotions when you're feeling stressed. When I feel lonely, when I feel afraid that maybe I'm missing out on something, right? Some of us are partnered and we still feel that pain and that ache on the inside of us. I talked about in in the video as well this morning, because there were some comments from women who are currently in relationships. And so what's coming up for them is this person is trying to love them and they know that they are pushing them away. And now that they have all this time quarantined and all this downtime together, they can't run from the fact that they have been pushing this person away. And it's like, well, is it them or is it me? Right? And you can only control yourself. So I want you to focus on rebuilding yourself during this time, to being your healthiest version of you. And I want you to pour into resources and time and books and meditative practices and growth opportunities to be your best self. Okay? Like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, right now is a really great opportunity for you to have a VIP day, right? Especially those of you who are quote unquote working from home. Some of you are actually working. Some of y'all are play working. Some of y'all are working really hard right now. And in a couple of weeks, it may not be like that. Or at the end of the 2 weeks, whatever. For us, most places have who have the opportunity to work from home have put into place like a 14-day, 2-week experience where everyone is like at home during the incubation period or whatever. And so now is the time for you to say, okay, let me see if I can knock out what's going on with me and get clear on what's going on with me in one day. And so VIP days are available for you, or weekends in case you want to do more. And they're virtual. You don't have to come to Houston. None of us can travel anyways, right? So it'll be you and me online talking one-on-one about what's going on and healing some stuff, giving you tools to continue the self-healing on your own, because it is just a day worth of work, right? And that's going to be the really best opportunity for you to get unstuck. And some of you are dating, and some of you are at a place where you are listening to this and you're like, man, once this coronavirus stuff is over and I'm about to start dating, I'm scared to go back. Or I really want to make sure that this relationship that I'm in, I'm actually doing my best and showing up my best. And so during the VIP day, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about healthy dating practices. We'll talk about how to communicate what you need and giving you tools that you can actually take with you and continue and still have follow-up support from me throughout that time. It's not just a one and done. You're now part of the healing family once we work together. So, and even if that's not the case, there's a lot of things that you can do that we help with here at Black Girls Heal, a lot of different opportunities. So If you want to talk about what that might look like for you, you can schedule a free call with me. You can go to blackgirlsheal.org/call, and it'll take you directly to my calendar, and you can find a time for us to chat about what's going on. And you'll fill out a little form that tells me what's been going on with you, what you want to work on. And then when we hop on the call, we'll figure out, okay, what is the best next step for you to do to optimize this time. This is time that you cannot get back. I was talking with one of the ladies that I've just started working with, and she is having a lot of anxiety about the idea of taking some time away from dating. She knows that she needs to do it, but there's a lot of anxiety. And what I told her during our last talk, I was like, girl, nobody can really date anyways right now, because she also lives in a major city. And I was like, you're telling me about how your city is completely shutting down. So you can't even really get to know someone in the way that you would want to anyway. So now is the best time for you to focus on you. Now is the time to actually focus on breaking those trauma bonds, right? All the people that you've been trying to finally go into no contact with, to have them loosen their power over you. Now is the time to actually do that. We've talked about that in a previous episode about how the only way to break a trauma bond is to have the distance. And maybe you've been feeling powerless to do that. And so now is the time to actually focus and put that work in so that you can emerge from this period of time feeling freer. Now, when you are face to face with someone who is triggering all of your stuff, now is that time to work on you, right? And that's what I love about online coaching. No one can take that from us. Coronavirus is not going to get into our internet. So that doesn't have to stop you from getting your healing and your work done. And by scheduling a call, and let's work together. So remember our mantra: don't waste our time 2020. Okay? You can put it the other way around if that feels better for you. 2020, don't waste my time. We are not wasting any of this downtime. We can watch our Netflix shows, and we can also do our inner healing work. We ain't got to choose. We got enough time to where we can do both, right? So that is it for this week's episode. I hope that was helpful. The third Tuesday of the month, I am trying to make it where we consistently do a student highlight. And so the student highlight that was scheduled for this week, that's going to be next week's episode. But yeah, and if you want more bonus episodes, you can join our bonus club, and the link to that is in the show notes as well. So that is it for now. I will see you next week.